What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. What is up, Mr. Ray? How you doing, brother?
Life is good, Wes. I was driving past a Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojo.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you about this, but yeah, and I went in, and so I'm signed up for my intro class. Because I'm traveling for Art Basel, the intro class is December 5th, so in about 3 weeks.
Nice, man. Congratulations.
It's on the calendar. I've committed. Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, if you ever want to riff on that at some point, maybe we can even do it on the cast. I'm trying to
Well, you know what?
my fighting framework.
So the thing is, it's going to take place on a Monday during podcasting, our usual podcasting schedule. So what I would like to do, if possible, I'll just set up the camera or set up the phone in the corner, and the guy can like kind of throw me around, and you can just kind of like so I'll be with you in spirit.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, congrats on that. That's the first step of any project is usually the hardest, and it's just about
absolutely. I've been talking about it. I've been talking about it for I've been thinking about it since we started, right?
Yeah. And I
2
think
years
for
ago.
me, I think
2
for
years
me,
ago,
honestly,
Wes?
probably.
Holy jumping.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would say it is of my personal belief, and I think this falls into the category that you and I hit on recently, which is like traditional masculinity. Now, whether or not somebody subscribes to that and to what degree they subscribe to that, I do put fighting and self-defense and being able to protect your family physically. I do put it in the traditional masculinity category for me. Mm-hmm. I can totally understand the arguments against it. You should never fight, all that stuff.
Guns are a very efficient option.
Yeah. Totally. Like, can I respect all of those things? But for my personal views, being able to handle myself physically is an important thing that I want to have in my arsenal.
100%. Same. And I also, just like we talked about before, there's no one definition of traditional masculinity. So if you automatically think toxic masculinity, well, that's just not what I'm talking about, Right. And then regarding fighting, what appealed to me, what really changed it for me was when you said one of the big benefits of learning to fight, is that not that you're prepared for any threat when you walk down the street, but you realize that 99% of the people are not a threat, right? So It actually is a threat. It's it's obviously a threat reduction measure, but it's like a kind of it almost increases your positivity quotient by realizing that nobody out here is out to harm me or able to harm me.
Exactly. If I told you that there was a black widow spider somewhere on your body, but you can't do anything about it, the whole day you would be thinking about where is that thing and when is it going to kill me, like that sort of thing. So yes, I think reducing our threats, we can increase our happiness by reducing our unhappiness or our anxiety or our whatever you want to call it.
Anxiety reduction. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do believe that fighting is one of those things, because I do think one of the trump cards in whether it be confidence or charisma, et cetera, is I will be okay. I think it's a phenomenal trump card. If I go up and ask this girl to go on a date with me and she says no, I'll be fine. I do think in physical altercation, you can't just automatically use that card. It's like, well, if this guy approaches me, I'll be fine. Maybe you won't be. If I get into this altercation with my neighbor and try to express my feelings about this situation, I'll be fine. Maybe you won't be, right? There's a certain amount of situations that our brains, at least my brain, will automatically detect as like, hey, I might not be fine in that situation. And I will be potentially more fine if I do know how to handle myself physically.
Word, 100%.
So, yeah, man. So what's the topic of the day, brother?
Well, I was wondering today if like the stock market was open or closed, because it's Veterans Day. Is that what you call it down in the US?
Yep.
And with Thanksgiving in the same month, I was like, I wonder if they have a day off. And it just got me thinking about like, what does it matter? Does it matter? So like, for example, you have a job in finance. Does it matter to you if the market is open or closed? And I was just wondering like, like, what does that impact in my life if the market is open or closed? And I mean, not all holidays are treated equal, but like, it got me thinking like, my process should be the same every day, whether the market's open or not, right? Like the scorecard, for example, and I think we even touched on this last time. So like, don't sweat the small stuff is kind of like, I guess if you could distill it down to a cliche or an idea. So when I say don't sweat the small stuff, what do you think of?
Well, if I relate the two things, and I'll riff here and let me know if I'm like somewhat on the path of what you're seeking. First of all, the stock market is very fascinating. It's my job. It's my job to work in public markets, in whether it be securities, real estate, private business, et cetera. Like we help clients manage those things. The stock market in particular is very interesting because, how do I say this? There's a bunch of different definitions inside of it. So let's talk about the market itself. Well, because it serves multiple reasons, think about your grocery market. If I were to interview a 400-pound overweight man and I would say, hey, like, where do you get your food? He would say the grocery market, right? And then let's say I interview a bodybuilder and I say, hey, where do you get your food? He would say, oh, well, the grocery market. The difference is they shop in different aisles. So I think that's one of the things, that the stock market is a loaded term that requires more distinction, because some people use it to shop in the candy aisle. Some people use it to shop in the vegetable aisle, So that becomes a very difficult thing when people talk about the stock market. Like this drives, as you can imagine, like it drives my like Larry David brain crazy, because the amount of times that definition will change inside of one dinner conversation is unbelievable. Right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like I could have a conversation with somebody and they say, oh yeah, totally. Like I know I want to buy Apple computer and hold it forever. I'm not recommending Apple, just disclaimer for my licenses. I'm just using an example. But let's even change that example. I want to buy X, Y, and Z company forever because it's an outstanding company. And then, but now I'm going to check the price 3 minutes from now. So you want to hold it forever, but then 3 minutes from you saying that you want to flip through your phone and check to where it's gone up or down and by pennies. That is paradoxical. That is oxymoronic behavior to words, if that makes sense.
Right. So, and the signal and the noise, does that?
Oh, without doubt.
Mean, like what that expression comes to mind, with the noise being when it blips up a cent or down a cent, right?
Yeah. The way that I think about the market for me, and the way I use it personally for myself is number one, when you invest in things, and you can use this as a parallel for life, you're going to have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And when you discuss risk in anything, in my opinion, you cannot discuss risk until you have a triad. So what's the goal? What's the time horizon? And then what's the vehicle to meet that goal within the given time horizon? And it basically has to be done in that sequence. Now, what happens is when people get kind of like investment schizophrenic, or even like behavioral schizophrenic, when we talk about goal seeking, is they start to mess around with that triad in inappropriate ways. So for instance, if I want to get to Philadelphia in the next 8 hours, right? So I've got the goal, I have the time horizon. Well, there's only one vehicle that I can take. it's an airplane. I live in California. It's 3,000 miles away. I cannot accomplish the goal. Now, I can have feelings about that vehicle. Well, I don't like the turbulence of when I take out of John Wayne Airport because we have to take off at a steeper incline because of the noise ordinances, blah, 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 et cetera. Those are my feelings. Now, it would be false for me to identify that volatility and my emotional feelings around that volatility as risk. The volatility being the turbulence when I take off. If I misidentify that, then my behavior can start to be skewed as a result. So for instance, risk, I define risk as the probability of hitting the goal. Does that make sense? Right? Like, so,
yes.
So I cannot, if I say, well, I do not like, the plane is too turbulent for me. Well, it's like, okay, well then I have to accept the 100% risk that I'm taking because I will not get to Philadelphia by the given time horizon. And that's a very important distinction. Volatility, short-term volatility, does not represent long-term risk. And the quicker people make that distinction, whether it be in investments or in life. Please tell Thea I said hi.
Wes says hi.
You just get one sip.
What is it, hot chocolate?
There you go, man.
It's hot chocolate season.
That's why I need a daughter, man.
I washed mommy's cup. That's why it's wet. See, but it's so hot.
Oh, one sip. That's all I can get, or else Dad's fat again. What did Wes send you in here? What's your weight at, Wes?
164, like 163.
Oh my God! Yeah, so you're on that fast.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, before we go back to that, I like that time horizon, vehicle, and goal kind of like matrix. That has broad application. I'd say the first thing that comes to mind is don't be emotionally invested in the outcome. Like when we were talking about XYZ stock, like that reminded me also like the XYZ stock. I also thought of Thea when we started buying crypto a few weeks ago, just to teach her, just to get her into the habit of saving money and and making it interesting for her. She's like, okay, Daddy, but if it goes up $1, can we sell it? Right? And so like the whole point. We can check it. Yes, we can check it. The whole point of it is that we not to be emotionally invested, not to be an emotional investor, rather. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can kind of riff on that.
Daddy.
So I would almost say when it comes to investing, I would add. How do I say this? Right? Like I think for me, it'd be unreasonable. Let's just say, for instance, if I want to grow my money so that it takes care of my family, it might be unreasonable for me to say, well, just completely disregard emotion. Do you know what I mean? Disassociate emotion to that thing. Because for me, that is what it is. It is literally for me so that I can take care of my mom, take care of my grandmom, take care of my future wife, take care
it's
of
an
my kids.
Emotionally loaded subject.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think I almost wonder if there's a more appropriate model for it, which is like, let's just say I have a goal of taking care of my future wife in retirement. I'm saying a very far out goal, right? And so let's say that goal is 40 years old. I'm sorry, it's 40 years from now. Well, it would be, in my opinion, like at the absolute minimum, I should divide the amount of days between now and today. And it's like, if I'm going to have any emotional reactivity, have the proportional emotional reactivity. Like one, whatever, 365 times 40 is, like whatever that number is, that maybe that's the amount of emotion that I should allocate to it. Not, oh my gosh, I have this long-term plan and I'm going to check my phone right now and sway myself way disproportionately on that particular thing. Like it is not a recipe for happiness at all.
Yeah, I got you. So I'm hearing like,
no, I want to say that.
Okay, Thea has an important reminder.
Please, yeah.
Don't time the market, time in the market.
Oh yeah, that's phenomenal. Please tell her that was phenomenal. Yes,
that was phenomenal, dude.
It is.
Yeah.
Don't.
And yeah, so like it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market, right? Which is something one of your mantras. And but also like if you have a money in being financially stable in retirement as a plan, and that's 20 years from now, then don't have a level 10 nuclear reaction to what a stock does on any given day.
Yeah, one of the best pictures that I've ever seen on this was like this little like caricature type of picture where this little boy was, I guess, planting carrots, and then he has this long graveyard of undeveloped carrots, and then on the one that he's on, he pulls it, he pulled it out, and he's looking at the carrot, and it's not fully grown. He's like, oh, it's not ready yet. Right. And then he drops it. And then you just see this, like I said, this graveyard of not fully mature carrots. And it's like, there are certain things that you have to let stew for a long period of time.
In the oven. Let stew, let bake in the oven. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So I guess that begs the question, like, how do you be an unemotional investor and yet take it so seriously, right? Like if providing so should you be unemotional about providing financial security for your family, right? Like you just said, it's an emotionally charged subject, right? If it's something you take seriously.
Yeah.
But then you must turn off that emotion. Is that like, do I have that right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's emotionally calibrated. Right, like having the appropriate amount of emotion. Now it's like, okay, how do we turn off, like, let's say the unnecessary fear response for whether it be investing or other things. So for instance, my model that I use for my own personal investing, it's not a recommendation to anybody else. It's like what I use for myself. I think about it. I try my best to have very simple and fundamental models in everything in life, but especially investing. Okay. Well, if we think about capitalism, what is a healthy capitalistic machine? In my opinion, if we go back and a quick riff on this, Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, hey, we go from bartering. Human beings are social creatures. Like it makes sense to live off of each other. However, if I have a pig and you have a goat and I don't want a goat, well, then we're going to have to figure out some sort of other medium of exchange if we want to trade with each other. That medium of exchange that we use now is currency. Okay, great. So from there, the way that I can make money is what? Is I produce value at a certain margin for you. So I charge you $20 for whatever, for this shoe that I made, and it only cost me $10 to make it. So I get an extra $10 of capital. Now, it would cost you $40 to make it because you don't have the supplies, you don't have the economies of scale, like whatever, from a time perspective, et cetera. So you make out on the deal and I make out on the deal. And we can keep on doing those types of exchanges, right? There's a certain perpetual nature of that. So the way that I make money is producing value in perpetuity at a certain margin. And then actually, let me resequence that. For me to make money, I create value with margin, and that allows me to do it in perpetuity. If I create value, but there's no margin in it, then I cannot do it in perpetuity. Why? Because I would go broke. I could not feed my family. So just right there, and I'll zoom in on that. That is so important for all of us men to understand. To make money, create value, and profit from it. And in so doing that will allow you to do it more. Like that's a simple.
Those rules again are.
Yep.
Create value.
Go ahead. With margin or profit.
Yes.
And then do it again.
And repeat.
Right? Like exactly. That's literally it. Like that's it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. This is why if you talk to a lot of like successful entrepreneurs, when they're being super honest, oftentimes they're like, yeah, I just do this thing and then I do more of it. Like I've been doing the same thing for 35 years. And so, yeah, I'm a really good shoemaker now. Right?
And so for those of us that do not have, so for the young men watching this who are just starting out, or old men like me that have had a meandering journey and adventure, skills development is like, you think, the most important investment that has like the biggest outsized return.
Without a doubt. Now, there's going to be certain nucleus skills that are transferable across multiple domains, right? That's why communication.
But the create value, like one way to create value is to take the money you have and.
Oh, sorry, Ray, just cut out. You still there, buddy? It just cut out. Sorry, brother. For some reason, I can't hear you. All right, Ray's going to try.
Let me.
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna.
I heard you.
Am I back? You can hear me now?
Yep. So sorry, start over if you don't
mind. Very good. Yes. One way you can create value is obviously take money and like squirrel it away in a retirement fund or stock market portfolio or something, right? But for those of us that don't have that cash, for those of us that don't have that cash, skills improvement is the bridge. So, is skills development the ladder up to step one, create value?
It's the former, right? So let's say it's done in parallel. So for instance, like Gunther's on this in the chat right now, right? Like Gunther, I'm going to oversimplify what you do, but Gunther, I believe you're an engineer. So Gunther's an engineer. Well, one of the ways that he can create value, because maybe some of the guys listening to this cast they're not entrepreneurs. So they're W-2 employees. Okay, great. And in my opinion, being an entrepreneur, there's so much opportunity in being an entrepreneur, and in a lot of ways it's better. So it's like Gunther is an engineer. So obviously there's a certain analytical skill set he's got to bring to the table. Now, if he wants to produce, and he's doing that at a certain margin, right? The skill and the value he brings to the table for his company, they are charging for. Somewhere along the line, there's an exchange of money, right? Now, if Gunther wants to increase his margin and AKA increase his profit per transaction, well, there's some pretty simple ways he can do it. One of the simplest ways he can do it, one of the simplest ways you can increase your value in the marketplace is to do things faster. Right? This is not like hard stuff. And the funny thing is, like, if we actually keep it basic, you'll beat 99% of people. So do it faster and be dependable. So do it faster more often, if that makes sense. Right? Like, can you be the guy where if I give you a project, you get it back to me fast, and every single time I ask you to do it, you get it back to me fast? Not one time you get it fast and another time you get it to me 3 weeks late. Right? So being fast and being consistent. Now, Gunther has a phenomenal opportunity. Obviously, I'm generalizing here. If you can be in an analytical space and then also be a great communicator, holy hell. Right? Like, that's why if you look at, I think it's 80% of the Fortune 500 CEOs in America are engineers. Right? Highly analytical, and they can also communicate.
And I would say that is a combination of an analytical person who can also add the creativity component, right? Because let's say that communicators are typically the creative people, but who are more chaotic when it comes to how organized their desk is, their workflow, the way they manage everything, right? So exactly, that is that, and I guess, and so then the call to action for creative people would be the converse, to master some basic
to have
analytical
some sort
skills.
Of reality. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Wes.
Yeah. Well, no, like,
to come down from the stars. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. Because like oftentimes, like you all know, I had this conversation recently. I had a client and she was like, "Oh, did you sign up with that dance instructor yet?" And I was like, "No." You want to know why? I've tried. You want to know how many times? 7 times. I've reached out to him 7 times, and he has not gotten back to me. Does he just not like
Is
money?
He on your enemies list? Congratulations, you're on my enemies list.
And her response was, "Of course he hasn't answered you. He's a dance instructor." right? So that's the whole
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's off in the
Yeah.
clouds. He's living life. He's an artist.
Right.
It's like,
his
well,
phone
great.
is ringing, but he's still trying to. He's like shadow dancing. Right.
Yeah.
He sees it ringing. He's like, I gotta get. Yeah.
Yeah. So now just imagine.
That's hilarious. That is
what does
hilarious.
that mean?
It's
if I can
it's not in his nature. Like
Exactly.
outstanding follow up is not his. And this is a fatal behavior for so many art galleries, because for so many of us, myself, prime suspect, we love art. Maybe we're failed artists. Maybe, we love talking about art. We open an art gallery. Accounting, hopeless. Paying taxes, hopeless. Paying vendors, hopeless. Follow up, like you said, the person who says, hey, I would like to give you money, that email languishes into the inbox, right?
Yep, exactly. So if you can cross-pollinate those rarely joined skills, instantly in the marketplace, you have a higher value. Like literally instantly. And the great thing is that if you can create systems around that. Like that's the awesome thing about technology. So for instance, spreadsheets, CRMs, hiring someone, there's so many ways to solve that problem. So Ray, if like that dance instructor, for instance, literally, if he just let's say he couldn't afford a lot of tech, if he just had a scripted text message of anytime somebody calls me and I just see in their voicemail, because it'll transcribe the voicemail, they either see the voicemail or they hear the voicemail, just copy and paste a text message. And it could be funny as hell. Hey, I hear that you're reaching out for me to schedule, your first dance appointment. Apparently I'm allergic to money. I'm really bad at this follow-up thing. So just click this link or go to my website and here's the calendar. Like that's all he has to do. That's it. That will instantly.
Once he just has to set up that system once.
Exactly.
Right.
And that will take him 10 minutes, 5. And that's if he spends 4 minutes not trying to do the task, he'll have the extra minute to actually do it. Those little things. He would have $1,000 of my money right now.
Those little things. That's not the small stuff, right? That's not don't sweat the small stuff.
Well, those,
right?
I mean, those are the I would say the small hinges that open big doors. 5 minutes, and it would get him an extra probably 30 clients a year.
Right. So beating yourself up every time you miss a call, that is to that person, I would say don't sweat the small stuff. It's just a phone call. But however, if year in, year out, you are letting that volume of calls go unanswered, then then a small fire becomes a big fire.
Yeah. So in your primary asset, I think it's so important for all of us to consider this model. You have your primary asset and you have your secondary assets. Your primary asset is your job. In other words, it is the way how you produce value in society and get paid for it. That is your primary asset. If you focus on mastering the skills in that primary asset, that, in my opinion, is where you will make the most money. So for instance, let's say if Gunther was not able to communicate well, or he was a 3 out of 10 in communication, but he's a 10 out of 10 engineer. If he wanted to, literally, I'm just guessing.
He's a street 3 office.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if he
did you understand that at all, Wes? Did you understand what I just said?
Well, it cut out. You said street 3 and then office 10, I think you said, but it cut out. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So
on the street, his attractiveness is a 3, but in the office, there's so many goblins. He comes across as a 10.
Yeah. So let's just say he doesn't make this, but let's just say he makes $50,000 a year. Well,
he doesn't make close to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if he wanted to go and say, if I want to say, okay, if I want to bet on Gunther doubling his salary in the next year, I would say, okay, if he's a level 10 engineer, go and take some communication classes. What I would do is go and take improv comedy classes and do take 10 weeks of them. I would be shocked if he can't increase his salary by 50 to 100% over the next year or 2 years, because now he can communicate with people, taking those types of classes. There's no other assets that will get the multiples reliably that you can get in your own primary asset via your craft if you become a superior craftsperson in that domain. And if like, as a simple exercise in proving this, look at whatever field somebody's in. Like Ray, let's just say, for instance, I'm going to assume there's a whole bunch of people working in your field that were like, oh, you can't really make money in this in this art game. Like, I'm assuming that like, do you know what I mean?
It's all we talk about. We all grouse and gripe about how none of us are making enough.
Right. So now, but if I were to crash that party, that dinner conversation, I would say, hey, just out of curiosity, what do you think the top man or woman in your field makes? I'm going to imagine it's probably tens of millions of dollars a year. Right. And it's not just one person. I'm assuming a quick Google search, I'd be able to find a dozen people who make millions of dollars a year. So where else? And by the way, they do it, I'm assuming, every single year. So what crushes me is when people start to confuse their secondary assets with their primary asset. Oh, I can never make a bunch of money being an art dealer or an art seller or whatever. And Ray, just so I'm not disrespectful, what would you call yourself?
Art dealer works.
Okay. So I can never make a bunch of money being an art dealer. So I'm going to go and try to be a part-time Donald Trump real estate flipper. And it's
side hustle.
Exactly. Now, I don't mind side hustles. But what I do prefer as side hustles is if you're not really liking your primary asset, right, like right now, and you want to build a bridge to like a better primary asset, but not that side hustle just being, well, because I want to get rich, so I'm going to become a real estate flipper, but you really don't like it. Like that is you're starting to dabble into a secondary asset that's really never going to become your primary asset, if that makes sense. You're really just doing it because you want to like sit on the beach and sip martinis for the rest of your life, and you feel like real estate flipping was the way to do that because that's what an infomercial told you to do.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the core of this is to make money. The way that I view it is to create value with profit and keep on doing it. Now, to multiply money to make money is to create value. To multiply money is to invest in value creation. So literally, I want to give my money to groups of individuals who are committed to that same value. That's why I personally do not invest in speculative things. Like, I want to invest in a group of humans, preferably a lot of them, going and committing to creating value for other humans with a profit. Why is that? Because I feel like they can keep on doing it. And obviously all this lands on the spectrum. So I personally don't look at playing the lottery as an investment or anything even related to it. Because honestly, for me, I don't really see the value creation. Yes, could I get lucky in turning the units that I put into that mechanism that it could turn into more units? But where's the value outside of just the chance of increasing those units? Versus, I'd rather invest in, I'm simplifying this, in an ice cream store down the street because I see a line of people who apparently value that ice cream. And they've been doing it for 3 decades. Or that chocolate company ran around the street, like every once in a while, I sneak off probably once or twice a week to buy chocolate at this chocolate store. I love it. I've been doing that now for 10 years, right? And a whole bunch of other people do the same thing. So that is perpetual value creation. So to make money, create value, to multiply money, invest in value creation. That's as like simple as a model that I can use for myself. Again, not a formal recommendation for anybody else because of my licenses, all those disclaimers, but that's what I use for the model of investing.
It also makes me think of what you've said previously about, if you can exit the idea that you're getting paid for your time and enter the idea that you're getting paid.
Sorry, it cut out. What was that?
And exit the paradigm that you're getting paid for your time and enter the paradigm that you're getting paid for the value you create.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, at a certain point when you start out in your career, there is like a heavy exchange of time for money, right? Like, because when you're working at McDonald's, just the activity is not that valuable because they break it down into such like simple parts that like basically a robot could do it. I actually assume there's probably a lot that robots do in McDonald's. But eventually you learn how to leverage your skill set and therefore can leverage the time. Because what you learn in entrepreneurship, and the same thing with entrepreneurship, like price is what you pay, value is what you get. Alex Hormozi talks about this a lot. It's a pretty common saying in business.
Say that again.
Price is what you pay, value is what you get.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Wes,
and the gap that you can create will be directly correlated with like your wealth that you build over time.
We are, I hope you don't mind if we make this a short one. We're coming up against the top of the hour, and I've got a blockbuster weekend. I have to close the current show at my gallery, open a new one. And but I feel like there's a roadmap here for young men who, maybe are an assistant manager at Domino's and feel like their talents, there are unused talents, or for example, to honor this journey of one of our dogs here. And I wonder if I was thinking in Rhomas University, is there going to be a module about just this subject?
Yes.
Right. About and I don't even know what you would call it, but just this kind of like the path.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right. And then next topic for you to ruminate on is, I wonder if you should map out Rhomas University and we cover it in a year of podcasts.
Let's do it.
Like break it down into 52 weeks a year, 2 pods, like break it down into 104 chunks. And then we can attack it. And it's for calendar year 2023. And then we can tag them. And then it's like a perpetual value creation machine.
Hell yeah. I'm in. Yeah. And let's, we can definitely dive a little deeper in the topic in another podcast as well. But if for anybody who's doing this, literally, this is the model that I use. And I know very wealthy people who use the same model, and you can use it all the way down to like, if you have your first job, do something faster, do it more reliably, and also do it in a way where people enjoy being around you while you're doing it.
That's where the communication comes in. Oh man.
Those 3 things, if you can do, you could literally become CEO of a company by still just doing those 3 fundamentals: faster, more reliably, and have people like you while you're doing it. That's it. Like you just keep on graduating up by using those 3 fundamentals. So, Mr. Ray, thank you, brother. Good luck on this weekend, dude. And it's awesome to watch from the stands. You keep on growing your business, man. It's awesome.
Thank you, dude. And if and I'm going to try to do things faster, more reliably, and have people like me while I do it. And that's just like a great like message. That's a great kind of like code.
It's super simple. I try my best to remind myself of it at least once a week, if not every day. Faster, reliable, and have people like me while I do it.
All right, Wes. Love you, man. Love all my dogs. Have a great weekend.
All right, dudes. Later.